I've ruined the bit. The menu. We were reviewing the menu first.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So, Daniel, this was your suggestion.
Yes, because I'm more of the horror aficionado than DB is, but I figured this movie would be a little more, okay, pun intended, more palatable for DB since it's more of a dark comedy than a horror, or it has dark comedy elements to it. But I'm curious to hear your feelings on this.
Okay. So let's talk about the overall thrust of it first.
Yeah.
And if I was pitching this movie to a board executive, what if Gordon Ramsay was Jigsaw?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it isn't just because we have a mad chef who's killing his guests. It's also we have a mad chef whose specific motivation is he's tired of people not appreciating life or his art.
Yes, yeah, and he's also incredibly tired of pretentious d-bags.
Exactly. So, like on a thematic level, this is a very interesting movie because it does raise some questions about. Okay, so ultimately, if you have a bowl of cereal, you're going to eat that bowl of cereal. It provides nutrients to your body, and then it eventually passes through your body in various forms.
Yes.
Um, it's interesting because it's a very, especially in the modern world where we have access to industrialized farming and whatnot, it's a pretty humdrum activity, and yet we put a lot of effort and thought into it. At least a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Heck, even your can of V8 is the result of 8 different vegetables and a bunch of industrial know-how.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
So, and often we don't we're not going out there killing our own chickens or picking our own berries, or we're just buying something. And so I think this movie is tapping into like what it's like to be a provider, especially for people who. It's weird in that he runs this island resort that's just the restaurant. It's $12.50 a plate. People come out, they drop what would be a rent payment for many people on a single night's meal, but they don't seem to appreciate it. And he's
Yeah.
finally had enough.
Yeah, he finally has enough, and he invites specific people to be the guests at his restaurant on this specific night. And the of course where the rub comes in, or where the problem comes in for him, and his name is, what was the chef's name? Slowick. Chef Slowick, who's played by Ray Fiennes. The problem he runs into is that one of the guests, a guy named Tyler, who is played by Nicholas Hoult, who we saw in Juror Number 2. He's like a total fanboy of the chef, and he was supposed to bring his girlfriend with him, but they broke up. So he brings a different woman with him.
Might be a little bit of what they call paid dating in anime.
Yes, yeah,
in a literal sense, actually.
Yeah, yes, yes, and she goes by the name of Margot, and that's Anya Taylor-Joy, who most people remember from. She's the young Furiosa, amongst other movies that she's been in.
Look. We watched that movie as a reviewer. Judging by the box office returns, most people would not remember her as that.
Okay.
Statistically, more people saw her as Princess Peach in the Mario Brothers movie. Although
Okay.
they probably wouldn't recognize her, but
Yeah, well, they'd recognize her voice.
yeah.
But But yeah,
Oh
but fair
God,
enough.
she
Yeah.
was magic in the New Mutants. Oh, I still haven't seen that.
I haven't either. Yeah. Ugh.
Mm.
She was also in that M Night Shyamalan movie, Split,
Mm.
and then the other one that they did, Glass, I think was what it was. But yeah, so they come on. They're there with all these other people, and one of the I should point out one of the guests is a movie star who's played by John Leguizamo. Although I would say John Leguizamo is playing himself essentially.
I don't know, like the John Leguizamo as he's portraying himself in this movie, how to put it, it feels like he's playing a bigger star than he actually is.
Oh, probably, yeah. Or at least he was a bigger star, and now he's basically a has been.
Well, they stopped making Ice Age movies, although I think there is another one coming out soon. So, you know,
No,
that Sid the Sloth money dried up.
yeah. And yeah, and he didn't have very much screen time in the John Wick movies, so you can't really ride on those coattails. Um, but yeah, and then you have other people who are there as well. Like you have like these three guys who work for the owner of the restaurant and are extremely entitled. Um, you've got I think he's like a politician and his wife.
Yes, or some captain of industry or something.
Yeah, I recognize the wife was played by Judith Light, who I have not seen in eons. Um, she's best remembered for being on Who's the Boss with Tony Danza back in it was a
Okay.
sitcom. For those of you who aren't old enough, it was a sitcom in the 80s. Um, and I didn't really recognize anybody else, but
The woman who was working for the magazine, uh, Janet McTeer. Let me just confirm that real quick before I make myself look
yeah.
too stupid. Oh,
Uh,
uh, um, so I stand corrected. I thought she was the coach on Glee. She was not.
oh, you're thinking of Jane Lynch.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Uh, uh, okay, well, sorry, Ms. McTeer. you,
yeah.
you,
Sorry.
you could you could be a Jane Lynch impressionist. Anyway,
Yeah.
look, I am a writer for. I think about writing and story first. Actors, I often forget unless I see them in many things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, understandable. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, but
Hey,
yeah. So as the meals
oh,
as the
well,
courses come out.
let's
Oh,
take a step back here. Let's talk about just how pretentious this restaurant is.
yes.
Okay, so you go out on a boat to get to this island off the coast. I'm guessing it's off the coast of California somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and they first take you on a tour of the beach and like, oh, we're harvesting the scallops now. You'll be eating the food from this very rock itself.
Yeah.
Uh, and the first course. So tonight you're eating the island because we're going to put this. We're going to put a huge a rock taken from the beach itself, covered in. We have the raw scallops on top, covered with the seaweed from the beach.
Yeah.
And oh, the second course, the bread course without bread, because they have the white plate with a bunch of little divots for the sauces you'd normally do. And oh, you just have to eat the sauces. And here, the bread you would have enjoyed tonight is, a rustic or heirloom wheat from such and such mountain that we usually serve.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
you have all these different reactions to the sheer pretentiousness of it, because Nicholas Holt's character Tyler, he's enraptured. He loves the avant-gardeness of it. You have the tech bros, like we want some bread. Bread is not available, says the waitress, who just
Yeah.
goes along with everything.
Yeah.
Like, no, well, no, seriously, we'll take three orders of bread, gluten free for my friend here.
Yeah.
The 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 critic points out that one of the emulsions is cracked. So throughout the rest of the night, they keep bringing her huge tureens of cracked emulsion to
Yeah.
make fun of her.
Yeah.
Um, John Leguizamo doesn't really notice the food much because he's kind of self-involved. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's basically just the only one who really seems to get what the chef is going for is Tyler, Nicholas Holt's character. But I think it's because he could have literally slapped him in the face and said, "It enhances the flavor." Oh, I see. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
By stimulating pain production. Oh, yes, brilliant.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but like Anya Taylor-Joy is not up for this at all. Like she's like, I want some bread. I want some food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And you start getting some hints, and also she's a smoker, and Tyler's of just, yeah, you're going to destroy your palate. How can you?
Yeah.
And then things take a turn for the weird.
Mhm.
When one of the staff comes out and gives a long speech about how he ultimately was trying to take the head chef's job, but he just didn't have the same talent, and this isn't the life I wanted, so goodbye. And he proceeds to shoot himself in the head, and then they wrap him like a burrito and haul him away.
Yeah.
This is part of the dinner theater, because for years now they've been doing this kabuki theater with the food, and they're just maintaining kayfabe till the bitter end because the chef has decided that this is the last night.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course everybody is just like shocked and like what's going on, and the only one who is completely unaffected and doesn't care is Tyler.
Well, he's enjoying the food, man.
Yeah, yeah, he's enjoying the food. He can't be bothered with somebody dying.
Yeah. So I don't want to get too much into spoilers beyond that, because
Yeah.
I think that what we've laid out is what you would have probably gotten from the original trailer, but also, I mean, there's the movie poster right there. There's going to be some murdering.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it is an interesting meditation on the relationship between fine dining, the food, and the people who can afford fine dining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of portrays it as almost a hopeless quest, because it's like if you're rich enough to afford this type of fine dining, you're also not hungry and on the, like, actually literally or figuratively hungry enough to actually notice the great things that are being put before you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's kind of like a I don't know if a saying, but there are two kinds of people. There are those who live to eat and eat to live.
Right. I mean, if everybody actually really cared about food and taste and everything, Soylent or that Soylent drink would not be a product.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, these it's and I think what we already mentioned it, but what got me was just how pretentious all of the characters in this movie are. Like it's just like, oh god.
Now here's the thing I will say. You can't really go into this one expecting realistic behavior.
Yeah.
It is kind of farcical. And I realize I've actually been kind of mum about my opinion up to this point. I think I enjoy thinking about the movie than I did the actual process of watching it.
Yeah.
Because the way I'll put it is that in the moment, I kept getting frustrated at how passive everybody was. Because they were putting
Yeah.
up with a lot of craziness in front of them when they could have theoretically banded together and revolted from the start.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, part of me wonders if maybe it's just because they're at that class of people where they don't think to do that.
Yep. That's very possible. It is kind
Yeah.
of why Anya Taylor-Joy is the only character who's actually actively trying to figure things out.
Yeah. Yeah. Which.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's also just because, like you said, I'm not a horror person. Although I will say, the scene of Billy Bob Thornton cutting off his own pinky finger needlessly in Landman
Yeah.
was more distressing to me than anything that happened in this movie.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, it's not really. There's not a whole lot of like shocking like bloody gore moments that you normally get in some horror movies.
Right. Chainsaw Massacre. This is not.
No, or yeah, it's not. It's not Jason Voorhees, splitting someone's head open with a machete.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a more psychological horror. So I
yeah,
think that I think the other thing is that here's my weird reaction I have to horror. I don't usually find it scary in a movie so much as I find it like mildly distressing, and I just want the tension of the scene to end. Like the scene we mentioned where
yeah,
the guy shot himself, I could just tell by the framing of it from the start, like, okay, this is where things are getting weird.
yeah,
Come on, come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
When are you going
Well,
to pull the rabbit out of your hat? Come on, you can
yeah.
do it, movie.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and I definitely understand that. Yeah, but what most horror people will say is that's part of the experience of watching a horror movie is just like you're waiting for that moment. Like, okay, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Come on, come on. And the trick with that the filmmakers have is making the audience wait just long enough
Hmm.
before it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, to use a food analogy, since it is this, I hate the taste of peaches.
Mm.
If you put a piece of pie in front of me that is peach pie, you are eating it or you are throwing it out.
Uh, so you're not
Uh,
a peach cobbler guy then, huh?
Absolutely not. Can't stand the flavor of peach in anything. Don't know
Yeah,
why.
yeah,
Um, this is not peaches because I enjoyed like aspects of it,
yeah,
but I just am not in tune with the moment to moment of a horror movie and how they work.
yeah. Okay.
But it is a but from my outside perspective, this is a fine peach cobbler.
Okay.
And the ice cream, and it has enough ice cream on top to cover up some of that peach flavor I don't like, to extend the metaphor further.
Right. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I'm going to say is like if I found a lot to appreciate about it, especially in retrospect, as I thought about the point of the movie, somebody who is more in tune with horror than me, I think, is going to have a really good time.
yeah. And I would say I had a better time than you did. Because like you're saying, this was more of a psychological horror, which I would say is more up my alley as opposed to like I said, Jason Voorhees, taking a machete to somebody's head. Um, or even something like Alien, where it's like not a person that's hunting them, but a creature. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I actually like this this kind of brand of it because uh, while it is like you said, while it is farcical in a lot of places, you can honestly see somebody like Ray Fiennes' character doing something like this potentially happening. Maybe not with the same grandeur or spectacle, but could happen.
Yeah, like the emotions behind why he's doing what he's doing make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, yeah, and you made the comparison with the Saw movies. Yeah, there is this that aspect of it where he's kind of making them pay for their past misdeeds. Yeah. But yeah, I would give it a it's a recommend for me. I don't know if it's a sound like maybe a mild recommend from you.
I would say if you are not allergic to horror like I am, I think you'll enjoy it more than I did. I think that there are people I know who aren't horror fans who I could recommend it to, just because it is like, okay, I have a record. I usually go themes, bah, themes do not elevate a movie. Themes elevate this
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah,
It's because it actually carries out the themes well and develops the themes. I'm used to themes just being haphazardly slopped around like a Last Jedi.
yeah. Bogdan, 7 peaches out of 10.
Yeah.